But let's continue with our coverage. That's where we find Pimani Baloyi in Limpopo at Mponegele Primary School. It's actually an institution in Polokwane. EFF Leader Julius Malema is just about arriving to cast his ballot, of course, to great fanfare. Live visuals there on your screen. And I imagine much of the same will take place. There'll be a very serious media scrum to see him cast his ballot, and then hopefully straight afterwards he'll have a word or two with members of the media. His parting shot, if you like, to any undecided voter, to get us a sense of what his message is to people who are watching this situation very closely. Pimani Baloyi is part of our team watching the situation at a much closer vantage point. As soon as Julius Malema speaks, of course, we'll get a word from him. From the 2019 election, the EFF being the third largest party, it remains to be seen what's going to take place now. But Pimani, you're right next to the man of the moment. Take us through what you're seeing and what he's about to say, I suppose.
Good morning, Ayanda, and good morning to our viewers. As you've just stated, Mr. Julius Malema has just arrived here at the Mponegele Primary School here in Seshego. He's behind, I'm actually in front of the polling station where he'll be voting in. So he started at where the queue snakes behind this block of classrooms where the polling station has been temporarily erected, Ayanda. As you can see, Mr. Malema has arrived. I'm not yet sure who he's come with, but we know during previous elections when Mr. Malema voted at this polling station, he comes along his wife, Mrs. Malema, and before his late grandmother passed on, he would also come with her to this polling station to cast his vote. We do know that Mr. Malema's oldest son, Ratanang Malema, has turned 18 and is also eligible to vote. We are not sure if Ratanang Malema is going to be part of the group of people that vote alongside EFF Leader Mr. Julius Malema. But I'm just going to step out of shot, Ayanda, and show you the front of this polling station where Mr. Malema expected to come through the door at any time. As you can see, there's a makeshift shade that has been made. Earlier we saw party agents from all different parties coming in, taking out elderly people from the long snaking queue and bringing them chairs so that they would sit here in the front. They also brought this makeshift shade so that the older people can be sitting down, and we do know that they are being prioritized in terms of entering this polling station. And in terms of the younger people that are within that snaking queue, they have been asked to be patient to ensure that they too will be afforded that opportunity to enter this polling station in order to vote. We also know, Ayanda, this polling station is one of those here in Limpopo that were able to open by 7 a.m. and people have been trickling in and out, the elderly, the middle-aged, the young, to cast their vote as we await for Mr. Malema to also do the same at this polling station. And we do know that there's about over 2,000 voters on this polling station's voters roll, and the IEC assured us that the past 2 days people who were enrolled for the special vote specifically in this polling station were able to cast that vote. But one of the people who came in very early in the morning is this kind sir who's standing next to me, and we're just going to get his opinion about how the process went.
Dikgetho di tsamaile gabotse ke kwa ke leboga modimo ba ne go fitlhile lebaka le le gore gale re le emetse re le rapedisa gore le fitlhe ebe le lokile ke le fitlhile lebaka le ke bona mo ke leng gona mo ke kgethago mo ke bona go tsamaya moya wa sedumedi modimo o na le maatla re a leboga se re tle a gore le ka mora re ka thaba le ge ka re ka mora ga dikgetho go ba pisikana mogoreleng ka gona go a rena moya wa sekreste re a leboga.
Le ke bona batho ba bantši ba eme mo lineng, ba bangwe ke baswa. Molaetso wa lena go batho ba baswa ba bangwe go mane gore o registerile mara a sho gore a tle a siye mo naeng a mo ka mo South Africa. Le ka reng go bona
molaetso nka ba fona ke ba botša gore go ba dula ka ditokelo tša bona. Jalo male mangwanya ka ditokelo a suntura atle keno re tlo reka ditokelo. Re na le tshepo le holofela re tloga mo re lo bona di-changes a go tshwana le maloba gore le go sa re be le mafolofolo mang le masonto re a tla a vote gore a tla kry-e tše a di tlhokago.
Thank you so much. Ayanda, there's somebody who's voted at this polling station. I'm going to see if I can make my way to the back where Mr. Julius Malema, we understand, is queuing in order to be able to enter this polling station and cast this vote. I've been told that he is flanked by his wife, Miss Mponegele Malema. We've seen the couple vote together several times, and we understand that even today they will be voting together. But I've also been told that his son is not part of that convoy that comes with him. But since morning, Ayanda, I must state that as SABC News, since we got here, his VIP security personnel have been here just safeguarding to ensure that when he eventually gets here, the place is safe and everybody is able to he's able to safely get into this polling station and cast his vote. But Ayanda, we've also seen a large contingency of police officers. You know, your provincial commissioner also coming in to ensure that voting happens here. But our visuals are currently showing Mr. Malema where he is, and I'm trying to get as far as I can to where he is to see if he is actually, as you can see, he's surrounded by a large group of media personnel. I'll try to get there to see if we can get audio of that, to see if he is actually speaking to members of the media, and if we can also deep into that audio to hear what actually he is saying ahead of casting that vote. But you can imagine, Mr. Julius Malema, as you were saying, Ayanda, his party is the third ranking in the sixth administration that is currently being voted out. So he is hoping that he can retain that position or move up a little. We do know that there are 3 provinces across the country where he currently is the official opposition, Limpopo being one of them. I'm sure his party is also hoping to retain that position in those 3 provinces, but also to add to that, to have other provinces where his party, the EFF, can be the official opposition party. But from where I'm standing, Ayanda, I am not sure if Mr. Julius Malema is addressing people over there, and if we can get audio of that visual. But we do have a camera stationed where he is, and you are getting live visuals of that interaction. I don't know if it's
Pimani, what we're going to try and do is give you an opportunity then to get a bit closer, because Julius Malema is in fact seemingly speaking to members of the media. Understandably, you were stationed at a different part of that particular region, and you'll worm your way through the media scrum, which usually follows a number of these high-profile individuals. But yeah, I mean, of course, this is largely expected. You know, the leader of the 3rd largest opposition, or the 3rd largest party in the country, is going to attract a lot of attention. But I'm going to use this opportunity very quickly to slip in a word or two with you once again, as we round off our discussion. We're expecting the IEC to actually give a media briefing tomorrow, in the next hour at 1 o'clock. It's, I imagine, the halfway mark type of briefing. Very quickly, what do you expect them to kind of touch on as they give that update?
Well, I expect them to firstly indicate how the opening of the voting station has gone, how voting is actually happening, how many people have cast the votes by now or by lunchtime, and then whether everything is intact. And then I believe that from what we have seen already, there is a high level of interest in these elections, and people are really going out in great numbers to vote.
Right.
And I expect the Commission, therefore, to give us confirmation of that.
Absolutely right, Teritilane. Thanks very much indeed. We're going to run back to Julius Malema, who we can now hear, hopefully, speaking to members of the media in Seshego. Take a listen.
I can't take him away. Yes, he's also doing his work. So there were system glitches. Our people complained about the system. That's pretty much what we've been dealing with this morning. And there was also tampering with voting boxes for special votes, where the seal were tampered with and things like that. and that has been brought to the attention of the IEC. There's one or two instances where I was told even the IEC considered not only the seal got tampered with, even the back of the ballot box has been tampered with. So, but generally we think things are running very well.
Judging by what you've just explained, do you think these elections would be free and fair?
There will be free and fair. There is nothing 100% in life if you are scientific. That's why even DNA tests say 99.999% this is your child. They never say 100% this is your child. Only a scientific person will say no. But what happened to the other 1%? Why is it not 100%? Nothing is 100%. We must not, out of our own fear of losing elections, and then start casting aspersion on the IEC and its integrity. Because it's an institution that must look after these elections. We've run elections successfully for so many years without a problem. So we shouldn't expect major problems. But when they introduce things like the gadget they've introduced and all of that, it's a general problem in the country. I'm happy they took that risk. But the general problem is not the IEC. The IEC has got gadgets. You can't say no, the gadgets are not there. The gadgets are there, the network is not there. And the IEC is not responsible to put network infrastructure. It's your government which has failed you and then failed the IEC at the same time. So from where I'm sitting, the IEC acted very professional. Very few presiding officers who don't have an appreciation of the role of party agents. And we're dealing with that because others say to them, but go and sit next to the door. A party agent must be free to move around the voting station. If they decide they want to sit next to where names are checked, they can sit there. If they want to check where they are tearing a ballot paper given to a voter, they must sit there and see if you are not giving a voter 2 ballot papers. But when you say they must sit at the door, who's observing that you are not giving ballot papers, 2 ballot papers to 1 vote? So some presiding officers lack that appreciation. But once brought to our attention, we bring it to the attention of the IEC and even bring to the attention of the presiding officers to say, but they are allowed to move around. There is no problem with what they are doing as long as they don't tamper with the voter and they don't touch the IEC material. You can't touch as a party agent a ballot paper or an IEC box or anything. The only thing you do, you eat with your ears and your eyes as a party agent. So you look and you listen, and then when there's a problem, you raise it. You don't go and touch material of the IEC.
CSC, you previously said that amongst the polls that exist, Ipsos is the one that is more reliable. How concerned are you? Because in the latest one, you've dropped from 18% to 11%. How concerned are you about that result and about your targets to overtake the DA's the main?
But the Ipsos confessed that their research this time around may not be accurate because of the margin of error. I think the margin of error was too high for such a research to be used as a scientific evidence that something will happen. Nothing will happen really. So what happened is you have a situation where Ipsos, actually the credible Ipsos that we all grew up knowing, it will have a day before research. They announce it 1 day before election to say a day before election, this is where we stand. And then during an election day, they will give you hourly updates to say this what is. Ipsos is not doing that now. So you can see it has been interfered with. That's why it's not doing what we normally get from Ipsos, and that's why it will suffer a serious credibility crisis if this result were to be something extremely different from what they predicted.
Do you see yourselves overtaking the DA then?
We see ourselves overtaking the ANC, not the DA. The DA is small boys. We have no time for small boys. We're going for the real giant, which is the ANC. We are in an election to remove the ANC. So we don't talk about opposition parties. How can you have all political parties formed and then attacking one opposition party? They are all opposition parties, but they all attack this opposition party and they don't attack the ruling party. So you ask yourself, what is the interest here? So we don't attack opposition parties. We are here to take over government. That's where our target is.
However, people say that you could be a kingmaker in a coalition government if the ANC doesn't get the 50%.
Absolutely. We will cross that bridge when we arrive there. For now, we are on the road to the day after the
Mr. Malema, just kilometers from there, in days leading up to the election, we saw violence breaking out in Julius. Yesterday, the police issued a statement that has been a second suspect that has been arrested in relation to that incident. Of course, they are taking in court only tomorrow. But do you have any security concerns today or in days leading up to the final vote count, if I may call it? And secondly, maybe let me just pose a second question so that I don't have to come back. But previously, we I think about 60 days into no load shedding, and you've said that this is something that will not last. And of course, there's speculation that tomorrow load shedding will resume. Of course, the ESCOM coming out to issue a statement saying that is absolutely not the case. Do you still hold that view that load shedding, these load shedding 3 days will not last?
Well, they are not sustainable. That's why they said to you, we have suspended. They didn't say we have gotten rid of load shedding. They said we have suspended the load shedding. So that's what we're dealing with, suspension. At any time, it can be uplifted. Some municipalities have already issued out schedules of they don't call it load shedding. They speak about energy saving, things like that. It's not going to end. It's going to happen immediately after the elections. They are using it as an election gimmick, and we should not fall for that trap. As to the violence of Juju Valley, the desperation of attention-seeking individuals of no significance in society, that their only relevance is acting in a provocative manner, where a child gets shot and then stays in ICU for a very long time. Since that incident, the child is still in ICU because some fool decided to go and cause fights unnecessarily. And we must see them for who they are. They are stupid. They have been protected by wise collective around them. But acting individually, they demonstrate the highest level of stupidity to a point where they even fire shots from firearms when they don't have firearm licenses. So such people should not find any resonance in our society. We are a very peaceful country, we are very tolerant. We have coexisted with the ANC for the past 10 years. So there is absolutely no problem of violence between the EFF and the ANC. The question should just be what changed. Then you will know what's the cause of the problem. People who instigate violence where our children get even shot at, and then there's almost attempted murder of innocent people. We should be very jealous of ourselves shaking hands with such murderers. Society must not even give them a breathing space. They must be isolated completely by society for engaging in act of violence which compromise innocent lives. When we say let's isolate Israel because of the killing of children in Palestine and Israel, is the same principle we must apply even amongst ourselves. Those who instigate violence which results in killing of innocent children must be isolated by society. The EFF is not involved in the violence of Jujuveli. The EFF will not be involved in any violence. That's why I said earlier on we ran clean campaign, because I know for a fact that part of our election strategy has never been instigation of violence. If anything, we said everybody must act with restraint, even on the face of provocation. Act with restraint. And the same message is being echoed today by the EFF. Whatever amount of provocation, do not respond with violence. Police are here, presiding officers are here. Anyone who acts outside the electoral laws, the police must act with that, against that person together with the IEC. So EFF has got no role. The role of the EFF here is to look after its voters. That's why they've got their own table. They check them on the voters' roll. If they are there, they usher them in, leave them on the queue. After they vote, they take them, put them in the taxis, take them home. Our role today is to look after voters, not to do anything. It's not to campaign. Whether someone sings or plays loud music, does it, it's their own thing. It's not our problem.
Yes, Madam, I have just one more question. What is your message to the young African child? And what is the EFF going to do about the young African child that has not been done in this country?
We'll restore their dignity. We'll give them the land so that they've got a place of their own. Property relations are very important for the dignity of people. So we will restore the land in the hands of the Africans so their children have a better and a great future. We'll give them free education. We'll ensure that they go to school free of charge. They don't have to buy school uniform, because the uniform is part of education. So when you say free education, it must come with the whole package of what constitutes education. We'll ensure that every household has got electricity and clean water. Our people have proper roads, and that our children are provided 2 meals per day in schools to fight poverty. Increase the social grants of Gogos to 4,000 Rand upwards, including the child grant to 1,000 Rand upwards. The EFF will eradicate crime in South Africa in such a way that all criminals who have declared war against our people shall be declared enemies of the state, and the state shall act against them in protection of our people. So that's it. You're asking me a question that wants me to now present manifesto leadership. I'll get into trouble.
Still has